citizens of Canada are calling on the Queen's representative in Canada, His Excellency the Right Honourable Governor-General, David Johnston, to immediately comply with the following 3 orders, which are constitutionally provided in the Constitution Act of 1982 and all laws following it. 1. We order an immediate suspension of Parliament and a new untainted election, completely free of fraud and voter suppression, as well as the complete cessation of the passage of new bills. The second order, a completely open and independent Royal Commission, absolutely free of political interference and involvement, beginning within a reasonable amount of time, no more than 3 months from the date of Elections Canada's address to Parliament on March 29th, as well as a criminal investigation up to and including the Prime Minister's office. The third order by citizens of Canada, complete accountability, including the involvement of jail time and the application of justice in upholding the Constitution of Canada 1982 and all the democratic rights prescribed therein.
Hey there everyone, Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth. We are currently out front of Old City Hall today on March 31st to take part in the second phase of the nationwide rallies that are being held all across Canada today to call for a public inquiry into the Robocall scandal. Last time we were here around 2 weeks ago, there were reports that there were upwards of 77 ridings that have been affected by this scandal. That number has now risen to over 200 ridings. So today we're going to be speaking with some of the protesters here to find out how they feel about this scandal.
Do you think there's a big difference between the Conservatives and the other mainstream political parties, or do you think they've all been kind of usurped for corporate interest?
They're all for the corporations, all of them.
So what's our option for voting? What should we vote for then if they're all for corporations? Tough call.
It's a very tough call. People need to take back our country and take back our democracy. I'm willing to die for my country and everybody's freedom, so I'm willing to die for that. It is worth dying for.
While they are just allegations against the Conservative government at the moment, the investigation seems to be stalling, and at a time when more money needs to be given to Elections Canada to get to the bottom of this, to find out who's responsible and hold them accountable, the government decides we're going to slash their budget by $7.5 million every year over the next 2 years.
That isn't just Elections Canada doing its part, that's actually 7 times more cuts than any other agency of Parliament. So what we've seen with this budget is retribution happening against Elections Canada because they're trying to investigate, and it's going to drastically reduce their ability to investigate these kinds of elections frauds. That's a serious problem.
With the March 29th budget reducing funding to Elections Canada, it will be even more difficult for the agency to investigate any such election crimes. Therefore, a completely independent investigation, such as a royal commission, free of political interference, or control, must occur either immediately or within a reasonable amount of time. Elections Canada was only permitted to present its findings regarding the matter to Parliament the same day as the attention-dominating budget. This was orchestrated on purpose.
The Commissioner of the Elections Canada went into the House of Commons. It was quite conveniently scheduled for the exact same time when all the journalists were in the budget lockup. I don't really know how that might have got scheduled for that time, but anyway, he went into Parliament, and he said it's absolutely outrageous. He said it's totally unacceptable in a modern democracy. Now, this isn't a partisan hack talking. This is the Commissioner of of Elections Canada, who's an independent, non-partisan body. What a public inquiry can do is look at everything that happened, look at the entire pattern. They can look at ridings all across the country, and most importantly, they can then make recommendations to figure out how we change the laws to make sure these kinds of tactics, these kinds of election fraud can never happen again. have a proud tradition in Canada that when issues like this emerge, when there's real serious questions that we have to answer, the government hands it off. They say, okay, there's a serious question here. We're going to hand it off to a completely independent public inquiry that can look at the evidence, that can require people to testify, that can look at the big picture and get to the bottom of this. But for the last few weeks, our Prime Minister has been refusing to do that. So that raises the question, what is he trying to hide? We've seen over the last few weeks the Prime Minister trying to play this down. He's been downplaying, distracting, saying it's just a few isolated incidents, it's in just a few ridings. That's not the case. What we've seen now is it's in over 200 ridings all across the country, and the pattern adds up to serious evidence of systematic election fraud.
If it's the 200 ridings that have been reported in the media, they need to have a new federal election, because that's over 2/3 of the ridings in Canada.
The chief reason for the demonstration stems from a growing amount of evidence, as divulged by Elections Canada, of harassing and often misleading automated phone calls having been made to constituents in two-thirds of Canadian ridings. That's a clear majority of ridings that were affected.
The Central Campaign reviewed its actions and can confirm that it did not engage in any action related to voter suppression. It's not something we do. Our activity is quite exactly the opposite.
You used to stand up in the House of Commons.
Just to say that we contact voters in order to encourage them to vote. Not the opposite.
You used to stand up in the House of Commons day after day after day and deny the In-N-Out scandal until your party pled guilty and cut a deal. And, you know, here we are again with the second incidence of mischief in the past election. We're starting to wonder if you really won a majority government in the last election. You're 39%. Your razor-thin majority may have been achieved by cheating.
And in April 2008, RCMP raided Conservative headquarters for election ad overspending, a scandal that became known as In and Out.
The In and Out scandal was in regards to the 2006 election. Elections Canada caps what parties can use when they do their campaigning, whether it be television, advertisements. They are capped at a certain amount to make it a fair and equal playing ground for each party, because the Conservative Party may have, you know, more supporters, more money than the Green Party, and they want to make it fair. So you're capped out at a certain amount. What the Conservative Party did is they took extra money, put it into different ridings, so they were above, I think, by $3.6 million spending. So they were able to, illegally of course, spend almost $4 million more than all of the other parties did in the election. And this is an illegal act, and they denied it. They said they were innocent the whole time. And they took a plea bargain, November 2011, to the higher charges.
We don't have to sit around and wait for the NDP and the Liberals to debate this issue with the Conservatives to find out if there's a need for by-elections or not. We actually have the ability to take this matter into our own hands. Under Part 20, Section 524, contested elections. Any elector who is eligible to vote in an electoral district, and any candidate in the electoral district, may by application to a competent court contest the election in that electoral district on the grounds that under Section 65, the election candidate was not eligible to be a candidate, or there were irregularities, fraud, or corrupt or illegal practices that affected the result of the election. If you were affected by this scandal, if you received one of these calls, or if you were in one of these ridings that were affected by the scandal, or you know somebody who was, and wants to get down to the bottom of this, I wanted to let people know that they have this option, because I don't think a lot of people are aware of this option right now. So rather than waiting for the government to fix this problem for us and have this ongoing debate about how this should be dealt with, we actually have the ability to take the matter into our own hands right now, today.
We believe that through these court actions, all Canadians will be able to find out exactly what happened
and who was responsible.
The Robocall affair has suddenly become a legal affair. The citizens advocacy group, it's called the Council of Canadians, is backing court challenges financially, mounted in not one but 7 ridings across the country. They claim that dirty tricks waged in the last election, including calls misleading voters to the wrong polls, which would violate Elections Canada Act, should invalidate some of the results and lead to 7 new by-elections.
We do know the Council of Canadians very well. This is an extremist left-wing advocacy group with strong ties to the NDP. They're trying to overturn, in a very transparent fashion, certified election results, which we believe are, in fact, were properly overseen by Elections Canada. So we will defend these election results and our democracy in court.
We know that in numerous ridings, people's right to vote were monkey-wrenched, and it keeps coming back to the Conservative Party. So if people ask those questions, now suddenly they're dangerous fringe extremists. I think Mr. Del Mastro has to stop playing the blame game and say whether or not the government actually cares whether people were defrauded of their right to vote. That's the issue.
They were just convicted in the in-out scandal and had to pay a fine of over $200,000. So this is just another example where they don't really want to get to the bottom of it, so they'll drag it out. We'll drag it out through the courts. They should do the right thing, call an inquiry. Let's get to the bottom of what's gone on here. There's enough accusations, there's enough evidence, there's enough complaints, and these are individuals. Let's think about this. These are individuals who are willing to put their name on a docket and go before the court to say, my franchise of marking my ex was interfered upon, and it happened in 7 key ridings that were very, very close in the margin. So this is a substantial information and a court case.
You guys know everybody online, Press for Truth, and a whole lot more. Go online, do your research, investigate, share videos. Over 200 cities across Canada are involved in this today to show the democracy, and we appreciate you all supporting this. It's important to take pictures, videos, put them online, viral videos, Facebook, and spread the word. Let everybody know what this is all about.
We need to walk away and say, you know what, Canadians care, and we're going to keep on this. We're going to keep this in the media, keep it in the public eye, keep it out there on the table for people to see day in and day out, and not let them forget that our democracy is eroding right in front of their faces. And we're going to keep pressing on with rallies and try to get that Royal Commission.
The price of democracy is eternal vigilance, and so that's what our job is every day for the rest of our lives. We've got to be eternally vigilant, take this one back, and never let it happen again.